This for me is the big picture of nonviolent communication. It's a tree, as you can see. It has roots and branches. The heartwood of this tree is the intention or the purpose of nonviolent communication, which for me is compassionate connection. So creating the quality of connection that leads to everybody's needs being met. So that's compassionate connection. That's the intention or the purpose of nonviolent communication, as I understand it. And down here we've got the roots being self-empathy, self-connection. And up here, above the soil, we've got the branches of empathy and self-expression, so expressing myself. So this is kind of a map of the choices we have. We can stay in self-empathy, we can choose to empathize, we can choose to express ourselves pretty much in any situation. And I also mentioned this morning, and I mentioned it briefly now, that there's a connection between the roots and the branches. You probably remember this from biology. There's a connection between the roots and the branches. Apart from the obvious one that energy flows up and down the tree between roots and branches, the extent to which the roots reach down and out corresponds to the extent to which the branches reach up and out. So if we map that onto our own experience, the extent to which we're connected with ourselves is related to the extent to which we can reach out to other people through empathy or through self-expression, through expressing ourselves. Does that make sense? Yeah, is that kind of clear enough? Yeah. So this for me is like the big picture of nonviolent communication. And I mentioned this morning the Eden Project. So I read in the paper a few years ago that the trees have been growing like 15, 20 years, and suddenly they just started falling over. Just falling over. And they couldn't work out why. Beautiful trees, beautiful greenhouses, seemed like they had perfect conditions. They did kind of autopsy on these trees, and they found that they had no roots to speak of. Why did they have no roots? People who were here this morning, please wait for somebody who wasn't here this morning to answer. Why did...
There was no wind.
There was no wind, yes. They had no roots because there was no wind in the biomes, in the greenhouses. Yeah? Paradoxical as it seems, they weren't subject to wind, external pressures, so they never thought, oh, we better grow some roots. They just thought, no, it's fine, everything's fine, we can just carry on growing straight up, no problems, we'll just carry on growing. But of course, at some point, their own weight just toppled them over. So there's something about the environment. They thought this was the perfect environment. They forgot that living things need some challenges in order to grow, in order to thrive. Now, I'm not saying that any amount of challenge is good, because obviously at any point in your life or any point in a tree's life, too much wind will mean it will fall over. Yeah, that's pretty clear, So I'm not saying any amount of wind or any amount of challenge is a good thing. I'm just noticing that there is a connection between wind and roots. There clearly is, and I notice in my own life that there's clearly a connection between some of my deepest roots and some of the strongest winds I've been in. And I guess it's the same for everybody. Yeah. There's a connection between self-empathy and empathizing, and if we're not connected with ourselves, if we don't have space to be connected with ourselves, it's very difficult to be connected with other people, to have the space to connect with others. So the way I say it is, if you have space for yourself, you have space for other people, space to connect with other people. So on that basis, we're going to start with a self-empathy exercise, okay, just to strengthen the roots, and then we're going to reach out into the outer world, empathizing with others. So self-empathy exercise, 10-minute self-empathy exercise, this will be a guided reflection. So if you want to get comfortable for about 10 minutes, so I invite you to bring your attention to your body. Perhaps starting with the toes, the soles of the feet, ankles, calves, knees, thighs, buttocks and sitting bones, feeling the weight going down through sitting bones or your pelvis into the chair or the floor, ultimately into the earth. lower back, upper back, spreading into the shoulder blades, and down the arms to the elbows and hands. And noticing the sensations in your hands. Fingertips, palms of the hands, warmth or coolness, tingliness or dullness. And when you're ready, bringing your attention to your belly and noticing any swirls of tension or ease and relaxation in your stomach. Coming through to your lower back again, and following the spine up between the shoulder blades to neck and head, allowing the muscles at the back of the neck, the base of the skull, to relax and lengthen. Noticing the scalp and ears, forehead and eyes, nose and mouth, and chest with heart and lungs. Perhaps following your breathing for 8 or 10 breaths. And when you're ready, if it helps you to arrive and become present, bringing attention to what you're feeling. So checking around your heart and noticing where in your body this feeling is. Exploring what's behind or underneath this feeling. So in a bodily way, what's behind or underneath this feeling? What are you longing for at the moment? What would give you a sense of completeness, of wholeness? And noticing how the feeling shifts, the feeling changes when you touch on something that you're really longing for. Okay, so in a minute I'm going to ring a bell to bring this exercise to a close. So just finishing off in whatever way you choose for the next minute. So I'm just curious to hear a few of the longings or the kind of needs that you got in touch with, if in a word or a sentence, just so we get a range of and a sense of what different, where each one of us is.
Care and love.
Care and love. Acknowledgement. Comfort. Yeah. One more. Learning. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to go with the learning one. We're going to go with learning. So I want to look at empathy. You want to come out here to the empathy branch, and we're going to do a demo. I'm going to do a demo with Natasha here, and for play and learning, I'm going to demonstrate some things that may not be heard as empathy. Okay, so typical misses. Okay, typical misses. I'm going to demonstrate some of these. Okay, so Natasha, what's up?
In the flat that I live in, there's lots of holes in the roof. So
yeah,
they've got.
How many holes?
I'm not sure about that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
There's one above my roof.
Yeah.
And so they've constructed loads of scaffolding.
Okay.
And so they're replacing the top layer of the roof.
Right.
It's quite annoying because I can hear workers banging on the roof.
Oh, sounds dreadful. Sounds really dreadful. Yeah, sounds terrible. You poor thing. Must be really disruptive. Yeah.
Well, it just it feels a bit invasive or something.
Yeah.
People jumping above my head.
Yeah, I feel like that sometimes. It's just like, yeah.
Sure, yeah. And I give massage, so sometimes clients come to my house and then suddenly there's loads of drilling noises when I'm doing a massage.
Well, do you know, that reminds me of a time when I was doing this empathy session. It's like bang, 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 bang. It's like you just can't hear yourself think sometimes. Yeah, just.
Yeah. It was quite like that. I couldn't get in touch with myself.
Right. Do you know? Well, this could turn into a very positive experience for you. You know, you could really learn something from this, like how to, stay connected even with, a lot of noise around. Have you thought about that? I've got this book. I've got this book. If you want to read this book, I've got How to Turn Challenges into Opportunities. It's called.
It's kind of like just being neutral about everything.
Well, it sounds like you're doing the best. I mean, you talked to these people, did you? Did you talk?
No, I haven't actually.
Dear.
I felt a bit shy.
Okay.
I mean, they're doing a positive thing.
Yeah. How come you didn't talk to them then?
I didn't really have much choice about this because I don't own the flat.
Yeah.
And it's a bit. They're just doing their thing, and I'm quite appreciating it because I actually had a leak in my roof.
Okay.
Coming down,
so it sounds like you're just making the best of a bad job, really.
Yeah. But it's good to express how I feel about it.
Okay.
It is irritating.
Okay, so we just pause there. Okay, so did I get them all in? Yeah? Okay. How was that for you, Natasha, to be on the receiving end?
It's really disencouraging or something. I just felt like I just kept meeting walls in my expression, and I felt sad. Just kind of okay. This isn't what I need. So kind of wanting to turn away from you.
Yeah. Okay. And how was that for you in the circle? How was that for you to witness, to hear and watch? Wait a minute, one person?
So it's like everyday.
Like everyday conversation, so it's familiar. So is it familiar to everybody? Pretty much? Yeah, everybody nodding?
See myself doing it and feel embarrassed.
You see yourself doing it, feel embarrassed? Yeah, I do these things as well. Yeah.
See my grandmother.
See your grandmother?
Really good at that with the neighbours.
Yeah.
Was it entertaining?
It was entertaining. I'm pleased to hear that, yeah. Sometimes it can get really heavy, so I'm glad it was entertaining. Somebody else?
I had one cringe moment when I thought, well, what's wrong with that?
Yeah. What was that? Tell me.
It was when you said that must be really terrible.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I do that.
Yeah. Well, we've got some live feedback. Really. We've got some live. How was that? When I said that, what was that like? How did you feel when you heard me say, "Oh, that must be really terrible"?
Well, I think it sounded like sympathy.
Okay. Yeah. What did it feel like? What did you feel when you heard that?
Like you were putting. Well, I felt my interpretation was that you were putting words into my mouth, so I felt a bit like, oh, he's not really listening.
Yeah.
He's a bit kind of left. Or something.
Yeah. So that's a kind of a typical response to sympathy. Sympathy is it's kind of like skating on thin ice, because I'm just trying to connect with the feelings by bringing up my own feeling in that area, and my own feeling may be different from what's going on for her. So it's kind of unlikely to create connection. Sometimes it does, because if people haven't had empathy, they'll take what's going. Okay. They'll take what's going. If sympathy, like your grandmother you've mentioned, if that's the currency, they'll say, oh, fair enough. It's not what I wanted, but at least she's trying, blah, blah, blah. Yeah? So they'll take it, But once you've had empathy, you start changing your friends because you realize you want empathy, Yeah? So when you've had the real thing, you don't want to go back to, these things. Yeah? Well, I didn't. So, any other responses to... Yeah, please.
I've done the foundation course at where I did the march.
Okay.
One of the exercises we did was something like
Okay.
this. And it absolutely shocked me to the core, because I'm just the sort of person that people will come up and talk to about those sorts of things, and I've used all of these things.
Yeah.
And it's really, it floored me. It took me quite some time to sort of gather myself and put myself back together again, because you feel like you're doing the right thing. You're trying to do the right thing.
Sure.
And then when you have the experience of actually what it's like to be hitting the walls all the time, but it's very difficult to unlearn it.
Yeah.
It's still my
default
position,
yeah.
and yet when I'm doing it, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, this is wrong. I'm not really It's kind of jackally, but it's kind of a good jackal.
Okay.
But the problem is then I stumble and then
lose your fluency. That's the trouble. You're learning something different and you lose the fluency of what you had before. Yeah. So wait a minute, Jack, I just want to stay with that. Really, really important point you made there was people say these things usually with the intention to connect.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Absolutely.
We all say these things. We're trying to connect. It's just the words don't really ferry that across somehow. It's like we fire the arrow, but somehow the arrow is wonky. And it doesn't go anywhere near, or maybe it kind of just about touches the target. Yeah. So we're looking for some more reliable ways to ferry that intention across. Yeah.
You do work for some people like that.
Yes.
And I had a girlfriend, and unless I said, "Oh, you poor thing," she wasn't interested in the empathy. She needed that. That sort of gave her somehow trust that I had some connection to it, and that was an absolute essential for her. But poor thing. That's really difficult for you.
Sounds like she knew what she needed in order to get that sense of connection. Yeah.
I have a question.
Please.
I think I'm quite good at empathising, but I feel really uncomfortable watching that scenario, because I love to get the empathy from people that I give.
Yeah.
Can you ask people for empathy if they don't have the skills, do you think?
It's kind of, well, how can I say? I mean, the people I really care about, I've trained them to empathise with me because that's what I want. If they're willing to be coached, I'm willing to offer a feedback. Yeah. Costas and then Marion.
I found that in cases like this, the only way I found to do it, again, naturally, just give unconditional love and leave it there.
Okay.
And then things happen just by magic. And you don't even expect it.
Okay.
That's just a personal issue.
Okay. So that brings us up to something we're going to cover in a minute. So what I heard you saying, Costas, there was that you just were concentrating on staying with the intention. So just radiate love. Just be in touch with the sense of love and listening in silence. And just being present with the other person, which is on the target. Yeah.
This was the most difficult thing for me to do, because I'm a person that they were finding I was loving all the time.
Yeah. So the words can get in the way. That's the difficulty. So we're going to try and find some words that more reliably are received as empathy. Yeah. Marion.
Really just knowing it's that, because I struggle when people start giving me advice. But then, when you ask, say, please don't give me advice, it doesn't really land very well, and it's kind of hard to sort of say.
Sure.
So just start giving me advice, it then sort of pushes me back, or I kind of nod and go, yeah, thanks very much, but actually that's not what I need.
Sure.
But there's that thing of how you can shift it without causing offence or reaction.
Sure. So what I heard is that what you really want is connection and understanding, and later on you might be interested in suggestions, advice, and you might not. You might be quite happy just to kind of use your own resources for suggestions. So the way I would say that would be simply like that. I would say, thank you very much for your suggestion. At the moment, what I really want is just understanding. I just want understanding at the moment and connection. And if later on I want suggestions, I will ask for them. So could you hold on to those suggestions for the time being? Are you willing to do that? They'll say yes or no. All right, so Natasha willingly sat through that demo, so now I'd like to demo some different ways of empathizing, some, quotes, real empathy. Yeah. So this time I'm going to see if I can tune in these different ways, and then we'll debrief and sort out what I was doing. And then you'll have a chance to practice them. Okay, so would you like to...
Yes, I've got lots of builders on top of my flat at the moment, because I've got a hole in the roof. so they're replacing the roof. And yeah, there's just a lot of noise and quite a lot of disruption, and it's disrupting my work and my feeling of like privacy and stuff. And they also like play their radio a lot, like really loud, and I'm on the top floor, and so I can often just hear their radio.
So you work from home, and they're on the roof. They're playing the radio, and you find the noise really annoying. Is that what you meant to say? Okay.
Yeah, and I think a lot of judgments come up in me about them or something, like because they're playing like Kiss FM on the radio or something, and it's kind of annoying me, and just really horrible songs about crappy stuff.
So it's important that this is your home, this is your space, and you're getting this stuff which you're not really. It's not part of your world. It's not what you want on your personal space.
Yeah, some sense of like boundary being pushed that I didn't consent to or something, and that I have no control over unless I was to go and confront them, which I feel a bit shy about.
So you're kind of feeling annoyed, maybe sort of somehow discouraged or a bit kind of hopeless?
A bit powerless.
Okay. So really like a sense of control over in your personal space, your room, your
really
house.
Something like about respect.
Okay. Some respect.
Like they play the radio really loudly, so that it feels like there's not much respect for who is listening, and who doesn't have a choice about that.
Okay. So you're feeling annoyed because you like respect, you like consideration, that this is your home. Okay, we'll just pause there.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll unpack all this gradually, but just curious to hear now, how was that for you this time?
Yeah, it was good. Yeah.
How do you feel now?
Yeah, I feel. Well, I wasn't that fired up about it in the beginning, so I'm feeling like had I been, probably, that would have been effective for me.
And how are you feeling now, just out of curiosity?
Like that was fun. Or
okay,
something.
It was fun. Okay, and people in the circle, how was that for you this time round? How do you feel watching this? More engaged. Yes.
She's listening to it.
Yeah. So how do you feel? How do you feel?
Comfortable.
More comfortable. Yeah. More at ease. Yeah. Okay.
Inspired.
Feel inspired.
You moving up getting from the white ring through to the blue one.
Yeah. So you noticed I started off listening in silence and then gradually got closer to the middle of the target. Okay.
I feel a slightly strange sense of like exposure, and I'm wondering if that's because like that was working or something, and you have seen me or something.
Okay.
But maybe I feel exposed because there's
okay. So on the one hand you were seen and that was fun. At the same time you perhaps maybe would have liked a bit more control over how you're being seen in this environment. Is that it?
Maybe something, something about vulnerability.
Okay, vulnerability.
Maybe he was opening up by listening in silence and then summarising, and then maybe sensing what was important. It made you more willing to talk about, to talk more honestly about what you were thinking, so to voice your genuine judgments, whereas before there was maybe, when you wasn't properly empathising, there was maybe a guard where you were like, oh, we're not going to go too deeply into this because he's not empathising anyway, whereas here he was, so you felt safe maybe with him to say, oh, and it was really annoying and selfish, and to speak more openly.
I think so, maybe just like the truth has more been veiled, and the truth of my feeling about like the radio and its infiltration is more the feeling about that is more available.
Okay.
The pace of listening as well. It's like the duration between you and her is more than
Yeah. So did you notice first time, every time I spoke, first time when we were doing things that may not be heard, I brought the attention to me. Did you notice that? That whether I wanted it or not, it brought the attention to me. Whereas this time, the attention was primarily with Natasha. And I was just supporting her to explore her experience, to get in touch with her feelings and needs. Yeah, and there was more space. I wasn't talking as much. I was listening more, talking less.
And what I noticed, you didn't go through that like a checklist. You sort of bounced your way up rather than going, I've done that one, I've done that one, I've done that one. You drop back each time before going forward.
Yeah. What I want to say is they all work. They all work in different ways, and they're all part of the target, the large target, so to speak. Do you remember I said, well, make the target bigger? Well, here we go. We've got needs in the center because they're the most likely to connect. Still, it's the level of like our awareness, our consciousness that we're most likely to connect with others. So that's in the center of the target. And then we've got feelings, which give us feedback about the needs. And then sensing what's important a little bit further out. So just sensing what's important in a general way. So I said, so is it important to you to have your own space or something like that? Or, something like that. And then summarizing, I just summarized the content of what she said. So it was that thing about you work at home, they're on the builders on the roof, they play the radio very loud, it's annoying. Summarizing. Yeah. And then right at the start, I was just listening in silence, just giving my attention. So this is empathy as presence. Empathy, just giving my attention, my presence to the other person. As a gift. It's a gift. Because I want connection, but it's also received as a gift.
Shantigarbha, I've had empathy where people just guess needs all the time, and it feels really hollow and empty. And for me, it is about that slow moving in. I'm just thinking, God, have you heard anything I've said? Because you're just guessing these words at me at random, and I don't get any sense of connection. So it isn't just about the centre of the target, it's about using the whole thing somehow.
Well, it's like I have this thing of need to be understood, and people say, oh, well, is it a need for that? I'm like, well, I don't know, I'm still kind of in the exploring where I am in
So there's something about pacing, and it's like going at the pace of the person, going at the pace of the speaker, and following them. Empathy is about following. It's not about leading them anywhere. It's about following very closely. Following so closely that anybody else thinks you're leading them. But you're not. I'm not. I'm just following so closely that it's almost indistinguishable. Yeah. Steve and then Marion.
Curious about one thing. Is that here, obviously, this was a controlled exercise where when Natasha's got to the point where you've identified that she's feeling that she's needing respect, you've done, okay, let's leave it there. Now, in real life, obviously, that's not going to happen. You're going to say, okay, you need respect. Yes, that's right. Okay, I've got it. I've nailed the ball. But they might then want to go on for 20 minutes. They might want to stay on exactly the same thing. Do you keep nailing balls, or do you start at the yellow and start working your way back in again?
Generally what I find is it's like a spiral. So this is actually like a spiral. If you touch a need somewhere here, then it will just spiral down to a deeper need. And if you touch that one, if you meet that one, then it will spiral down to a deeper need. Okay? It's endless. You could just keep going.
Get at the white every time and just start working your way back in with each need.
Yeah. Okay, so Marion...
I've got two things
to say
from that. I wanted to say that I felt much more connected with you in the second, and more like some empathy and engaged. So that I wanted to say that as well.
Pleased to hear that.
Because if you felt alone in the room, I felt kind of with you. So I wanted to say that. And also just from what he just said, it's that thing of if it's time limited, how do you stop in a gentle way and go, right, that's it, did 20 minutes and
sure.
it's over now. How do you actually say, you don't want to leave someone hanging in it.
Sure. Well, I think what I will do is I'll just go silent and wait. I'll just see what else comes up, what more comes up. Yeah. And if nothing more comes up, or if they start talking about the weather or whatever, then I know that that's enough. A bizarre thing, a counterintuitive thing about empathy is that if people get empathy, quite often their response will be to say, thank you very much, and go. Yeah? Because they've had it. They've got it. Yeah? So I didn't really understand this until I worked, when I was doing my MVC training, I worked in a psychiatric hospital. And you have plenty of opportunities in as many opportunities as you want, they're there. Like every minute, you got a chance to empathise, okay, with yourself or with other people. And what I used to do is I'd sit down next to people, or they'd sit down next to me. We'd have a little bit of a chat. I'd just have a little kind of foray, little curious, little try and explore a bit of empathy, see what was going on for them, and we sort of get into a bit of discussion, and then sometimes they would just get up and leave without saying a word. And at first I thought, oh no, I've missed. I'm a total waste of time, time waster, waste of time. I'll never get this right, And then I started to realise after a while that they got up when they got it. They got up and left when they'd got the empathy. It was only when they hadn't got it that they stayed next to me. They stayed sitting next to me. So it's kind of counterintuitive. But if you think about a kid coming in from the garden, mummy, 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 if they get attention, even for a moment, they'll go, all right then, and then go out into the garden. Yeah. But if they don't get attention, they'll carry on. Mummy, 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 mummy. Yeah. So it's like that. Yeah. That's how I understood it anyway. Andrew.
Yeah, I'm interested in linking that with Natasha's feeling of overexposure. Because I think that empathy, really good empathy, is seductive. We don't get it very often. And then I think what happens sometimes is, we've gone too far, climb up or leave. So it may be that you've actually really hit the target. Yep. And that's quite scary sometimes.
It's well worth bearing in mind that empathy you can go deep quicker than you expect. Yeah. And be prepared for that. And be prepared just to kind of lighten it up or just let go. Just let go. If you're getting into deeper water than you can handle as empathizer, let go. Just sit back, go silent, just wait, see what happens. Empathize with yourself.
I was just interested if in Natasha, you then made a judgment about the radio they were listening to, the program. Did you have that awareness of that judgment?
What was that?
You had the empathy.
What was that?
She when she was getting the empathy, she made a judgment about they were listening to a certain station.
I didn't hear a judgment. I heard a need for kind of.
Well, let me hear. I can't hear what did I say?
I just heard she it was not the type of music that she wanted to listen to. So maybe not a judgment, but I was just wondering, were you aware of that being an irritation before? Yeah, I was just wondering if the process had made it a bit clearer for her, but you knew that before. Yeah.
I think, people say when they're really listened to that it helps them to explore things, and maybe they discover things they weren't that clear about before. I think you mentioned it. It just became clearer, so you're just helping the person to become clearer about what's really going on. I could offer myself as a resource, an extra resource for like problem solving. Yeah. And for me, that comes after connection. Yeah. So this bit, we just concentrated on the connection part. Yeah.
Sometimes when I'm guided effectively to identify my needs, then I have some trust that I can work out the actions myself. And I think to trust your partner that they have that capability rather than wanting to fill that space. Yourself is really helpful.
Oh, Natasha?
Yeah, I was going to say something about like when you receive empathy, it feels like you're kind of clearing away the driftwood that's actually just getting in the way of your own intuition about what you need to do about the situation.
Yeah, I like that image. It's empowering and galvanizing. It galvanizes your own resources. If you're missing, if you're kind of aiming and missing with the needs, just relax a bit, spread out a bit, have another go. Perhaps just listen in silence for a while. So that's one thing. And the other thing is that if you just guess a need after a need after a need after a need, the person doesn't know which one to say yes or no to. So only ask one question at a time. Otherwise, if you ask even two questions, the person will not know which one to answer. They'll be confused about which one to ask. So if you ask a question, wait for the answer. Wait for a response. How many people have been asked a question and not had time to respond? Yeah? And how irritating is that?
Very irritating.
Yeah? Yeah? So if you ask a question, give the person a chance to respond. Yeah?
Shantigarbha, can I just come back on it, because it is interesting.
Okay.
The thing about being offered needs.
Uh-huh.
One is if I am offered some and then they hit one,
Yeah.
I'm already in the sort of bullshit monitor is up and it's not trusting, even though they get a direct hit.
Yeah.
But even if they get a direct hit first time, there's something that comes up in me around that trust. There's something about you can't know that. So even when they hit it direct, I'm not trusting. Where does that come from in them? You can't know that about me, even though they've hit me directly. And I need that bit of being heard and brought into the conversation before I'm ready to hear the need.
Okay, I'll come to you in a minute. Just a minute. So there's something there. It's to do with like going at the pace of the speaker. It's like, so if they're not ready to get into the needs, just wait. Just keep breathing, wait. Just sort of allow them to explore it rather than trying to lead them straight to the middle, to the bullseye. Just go, follow rather than leading them. Yeah.
So you haven't heard my pain. You can't possibly know what the solution to that is. And I want to be heard. I want the jackals. I want that. I want to be met.
I want to be met. Yeah. Yeah. And part of empathy is like a beautiful. This is switching the metaphor, but empathy is like a beautiful key. You can imagine a key unlocking this as well. And this key has some little bits for feelings and some little bits for needs. And you need both usually in order to unlock the sense of it really being heard and understood. Because the feelings tell you about how the need is being held. Yeah? It's not just the content of the need. The feelings tell you about how that need is being held by that person. Yeah? How it's being... The feelings tell you how that need is being experienced at the moment. Yeah, what feeling quality there is to having that need at the moment, or being in touch with that need at the moment. So you usually need both. I just want you to have a look at the arrows, which were suggested by somebody in India. The shape of them. So the arrows, they've got a question mark, and they've got a heart. So the heart, because it comes from the heart, it's a sensing, an empathic sensing. And there's a question mark there because it's a question. It's framed as a question. It's a sensing. It's an inquiry rather than a statement. And the first exercise will be simply listening in silence. So that's the biggest area of the target and probably the easiest skill to practice for most people. Some people sitting in silence is the most difficult part of this target. And I apologize if that's you, because we're going to start with that one. So, listening in silence. And this is empathy as presence. It's just giving your attention to the other person. If you want somewhere to put your attention, just put it, just sense what's going on in their hearts. Okay? Without words, leaving the words till later. Waiting with the words. So, yes. Nodding, anything else you like is fine. Just be aware of what you're doing. And be aware that some people like nodding, they appreciate it, they value it in some cultures and some families, and in other cultures and families, they think, what are you doing? Why are you nodding all the time? What's wrong with you? You got some... Yeah. So and the same with eye contact, and the same with same with that. Just notice what you're doing. Okay.
Months ago, I was the big multinational. We had I've been there many years. A lot of things. Restructuring. A lot of things.
Steve?
When Marion spoke and I listened, a couple of times I really wanted to ask for more information, which you make references to certain things. I say, oh, so inside I said, oh, I really want to know about that.
Yeah.
And obviously I didn't. And then when I was speaking, and it was something which was really burning in me, which I really wanted to share with somebody, I was bathing in the glory of knowing that I've got 5 minutes. And I don't have to rush my speech because I know she's not going to be trying to get in there.
Okay. So it sounds like you really enjoyed that space, just to kind of expand into the silence.
Yeah. Just have my
know you're being lived. Yeah.
All of it.
Yeah, Justine.
We noticed something interesting, which was because of the silence here, I'd actually expressed what I had needed to express. So there was this silent gap, and so we were both sort of it had been accepted, it had been finished. I'd expressed it, and I was fine. I felt the empathy, but then because there was that space of silence, then after a bit of time, something else came up, and Margot noticed that actually normally you never have that chance for something else to come up because you don't have the space. Once the empathy's been there or someone's talking, that's it. You then move on. But actually, if you're still with them, it's like saying, okay, you don't need to do anything, but it will come up. So,
yeah. So now we're looking at summarising and guessing what's important, and I'm going to put them together. I'm going to combine them in the next exercise. So I'm going to be doing summarising and sensing what's important. So summarising, when there's a pause, summarise in 1 to 2 sentences and check if it's accurate. And then at a certain point, I'll move on to sensing what's important.
Okay, so somebody I work with, who I've just kind of started working with recently, I text her to confirm something about work, and then she texts me back saying that don't use my phone don't text me to talk about work. Can you use my email? And I said okay, that's cool. And then it's happened on 2 occasions that then she's like text me about work. And first time I just text back and it was okay, and then she did it again, and I said, okay, I need some clarity on what is okay, because you said not to use your phone, for work stuff. Okay,
so I'd just like to come in there because I'm noticing that's my memory is full, and I need to sort of just do the summarising. So, okay, so a work colleague asked you not to use her phone for work, using text messages for work purposes. You said okay, and then since then she sent you some messages, and then what do you do? Yeah, so you want some clarity about what are the boundaries. Okay.
Yeah, and so so I've got quite frustrated actually because A, she's done this, and B, she hasn't got back to me after I've asked for clarification. So feel like, and so now I've seen her since also, and so now it feels like there's some tension.
So is clear communication important to you?
Yeah. Okay. And something about mutuality.
Oh, okay. Something about mutuality, something about kind of that it's a kind of a mutual exchange, a level playing field, maybe something like that.
Like fairness.
Okay.
There's a part of me that's really a bit afraid of getting into a conflict about it, so I don't really want to like confront her. I'd just like her to respond to me.
Okay. So were you hoping that she would respond and clarify the situation, at least from her side?
Yeah. I'm also quite scared of crossing her boundaries again.
Okay.
Maybe assuming that it's okay to text about work and then it's not, and maybe she gets cross with me.
Yeah. So would you like to keep, kind of a good relationship with her, a good connection with her, a good working relationship with her?
Yeah.
Okay. So we just pause there. We could continue. I'm just demonstrating, summarising, and guessing or sensing what's important. So first one was summarising, and then after that I was just trying to sense what was important in a general way. Yeah, in a general way, using some of these phrases. Is it important to you that? Would you have liked? Well, it seems as if you wish, or were you wanting? Were you hoping? And check if this is accurate. Okay, thank you, Natasha. In pairs, could be a different pair if you want this time. Could mix it up, if you want.
Switch to guessing what's important if you haven't done already.
You're summarising this.
Say she's waiting for something else. Say, okay, I haven't forgotten.
So I suggest you finish the sentences you're on. So now I'd like you to aim at feelings and needs. So I will demonstrate this, and then in the same pairs, have a go. Okay. So would you like to?
Yeah. So I texted my colleague about some work, and she made it clear that she wasn't okay with that. And I found that a bit kind of like I was a bit scared about her sort of saying that, because I felt like it was okay. And then so she put a boundary down, and then it turned out that her boundary was a bit flexible, and she ended up texting me about some work.
So you're feeling a bit scared because you want clarity about what's okay, where the boundaries are.
Yeah. Okay. Possibly because I'm a bit scared of being angry or something.
Okay. So you're scared of like losing the connection with her?
I think just maybe I have a fear of people's anger. And maybe especially people I'm not close to, feeling someone's anger if I don't know how to navigate them or something.
So is it you're feeling scared because you want to protect yourself in some way from maybe some hurt, maybe from getting hurt if you hear somebody talking in an angry tone of voice?
And maybe getting into too much of an entanglement with someone I've worked with.
Right. So you want to keep clarity about working relationships.
maybe there's something in there about like not trusting that the relationship that we already have can't support that level of intensity yet, or something.
So are you feeling kind of doubtful that the current sort of strength of connection will support this further kind of sort of intensity and this kind of this conflict if you go into it? So you're kind of torn between like going into it and just leaving it as it is, just letting it be. Not quite sure whether to confront it or just let it go. Okay, so that was the demo. So now I'd like you to try. So guessing feelings and needs, okay? And I suggest on the cheat sheet, are you feeling ... because you're needing ... So have a go.
I was playing it up a little bit.
I love that it's broken down into stages that we pause in between each exercise. I think it's a very good learning strategy.
Thank you. Somebody else? Graham and then...
Yeah, I'm wondering, it's interesting for the purposes of learning to go through this, and having done that, we were much happiest with the last stage, and I'm wondering whether there's an intrinsic value in, practicing the earlier exercises, or whether having done that now, we can just go with these feelings.
Well, just to come back to what I said at the start, the bigger the target, the more likely you are to hit it.
Right.
Yeah? So don't give yourself a hard time. Make it easy. Create a big target. Yeah.
Can I just say something there? Because
There was somebody had a hand up there, and then.
Follow on from that.
Okay, go on.
Yeah, because we were partners right at the end of the situation.
Okay.
We hadn't done all the leading.
Okay.
And it didn't feel right just to go straight into the leads. I thought I was shortchanging her by going straight into the leads.
Yeah.
But with the other things, you've built up the relationship. Most people had been with the same person for all sessions. So.
Okay. And how was it for you? Was that you, Yana? How was that for you?
It sort of clarified for me that, everyone's different. For me, I like the listening in silence. I like a lot of that empathy before the targeting. So I guess it's different people have different needs. So we can do the whole thing. So it felt fine that you guessed the needs were there, and I really enjoyed the empathy of the listening.
Okay. What I'd like to do is, if we all stand up and do our closing round standing up. Hold hands if you like. This is the touchy-feely part, if we haven't done it already. Reflecting on what has touched you, what did you learn, and what will you take away with you? Okay, so we'll leave it there. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.